members for doing that. Again, my name is Derek Melber, and just to give you a little bit of background on who I am currently an Active Directory MVP. Over the last 18 years, I've been an MVP both in Active Directory and group policy. I think a total of, I want to say 17 times or something like that. Really what the MVP program means for you is it allows you the opportunity to have a direct communication with Microsoft as well as other MVPs. So if you have any questions around Active Directory, group policy, security, please email me those questions and I hopefully will be able to answer them. If not, I know a lot of people that are much smarter than me that I can hopefully get answers for. If you do have any questions outside of that, please send them to me and I can send them to the appropriate people inside of Microsoft or try to get an MVP to answer them for you. So please take advantage of that. I also want to point you to some resources that we have available. We don't have a ton of time together today, so I want to point you to some resources that you can actually take advantage of. They're all available from our website. So if you just go to manageengine.com, and the first resource I want to point you to is our blog. So if you come over here to support and go to blogs or just blogs.manageengine.com, then you will see a whole litany of blogs. And if you come in here and you actually type Active Directory, you can just get the information related to Active Directory itself. So you'll see here that there's some very good blogs. Most of them are under 5 minutes, and that's our goal, is to give you blogs that are under 5 minutes so we don't take up too much of your time. Our blogs are really geared towards solutions. So you should be able to do something once you're done with the blog. So that's an excellent resource for you. We try to blog once, maybe even twice a week. Another resource I want to point you to is something we're actually going to leverage today, and I'm going to show you how to use it. And if you go to products and then go to security hardening for Active Directory, you'll see that there is a site, there's some video, there's some other information here, but I want to point you to the bottom of the page. And at the bottom of this page, you'll see a whole list of security areas within Active Directory. Now, these security areas within Active Directory usually are the foundation for a Windows Active Directory audit. Now, not only Active Directory, but Windows servers as well. So this is an area where you can come, you can actually reverse engineer this back into an audit program if you want, because it was actually developed out of an audit program or two that I've been working with for years. So this is actually what we're going to be relying on today, kind of as a foundation for the security areas in your environment. So this is an excellent resource, and again, I'll go back to this and we'll go through it. And then finally, I want to point you to our Securing Privileged Access in Active Directory book. This is a book that I think everyone needs to read through, just so we're all on the same page. I think that if everyone that's related to Windows and security read this particular book, it will give everyone a good foundation for what is important for securing privileges within a Windows environment, especially Active Directory. I think that many of the attempts that we try to make on securing Active Directory miss some of the key areas, which is why I think we're still under attack and being attacked successfully. So this is just another great resource. Click here, download the free ebook, give others the link, point them to the PDF, and they can download their own copy. That would be great if you could do that. So those are some resources that are available to you. I also want to talk about our world tour as well as our user conferences. We are about, I would say, 3 to 4 cities away from ending our first half of 2018 world tour. We've been to over 10 countries already this year. We will be in Poland, as you see, a little bit later in May, and then we'll be doing a swing through the East Coast of the United States. So please, if you are on the East Coast near any one of these cities, please go to our website, go to events, you can sign up. We would love to see you at one of these events. It is an amazing time. It's a morning. It is a way for you to communicate with us and for us to communicate with you. And it's really all about solutions. So what we do with these Active Directory World Tours is we try to take topics that are kind of pressing hot topics, things that have been going around the world, and we try to make solutions out of them. So it's really about how you can be more efficient and more secure on your daily activities. I also want to point you to our user conference. I think you saw that when I went to the main landing page. So if I go back here and just go to manageengine.com, you'll see that our main landing page talks about our Bay Area user conference, again, at the end of May. Another great event for you to come to if you're in the Bay Area. So those are some resources. Please take advantage of all of them. They're free. There's something that is for you to take advantage of, and we're constantly updating the information just for you. All right, let's talk a little bit in detail about what we're going to talk about today. And what I want to do is I want to expand on just the concept of auditing. And I want to define that in my terms. When I hear the term auditing, I think of an auditor. I think of someone from PwC, Deloitte, an internal auditor, someone that's responsible for performing an audit. But that's not the only use of the term auditing. Auditing also has a concept around it, which is really for administrators. And that would be the idea that we want to monitor changes that are going on within the environment. Maybe, obviously, Active Directory would be one of those that we want to worry about. And this allows us, if we're monitoring the changes, that we can actually get information about that. Now, everything boils down to really three concepts with auditing. It's monitoring, it is reporting, and it's also real-time alerting. So we're going to use those three core concepts as we go through our presentation today, and I'm going to show you exactly how to get information. If there is an area on an audit program that you know you're responsible for and I don't touch it today, please go back to the security hardening site. The security hardening site, let me go back to that because I did forget to do one thing when I was there. The security hardening site, if you go to any one of the security areas and you click on it, there are blogs and videos to help you. So if I don't hit a key area that you know is something that's on your audit program, go back here, and this will allow you to get more information about how to do that. So let's start off. Now, I didn't add how to set up auditing, but I'm going to quickly do that because the reason I didn't create slides for it is because I didn't want to spend too much time on it, because I figured most of the people that are here on this particular webinar know how to do this, but I'm going to quickly show you. If you go to Group Policy, you go to the top level, the domain node, and you go into a GPO. This happens to be my GPO for it. There are two areas where you can set up auditing. You have the traditional area that's been around for, 18 years now, which is under Security Settings, Local Policies, Audit Policy. And then you also have Advanced Audit Policy, which if you're using Windows Server 2008 R2 or greater, I highly recommend that you actually use these settings. If you don't know how to set these up and set up auditing, email me, and I have a multi-page document. It's less than 5 pages on exactly how to set up auditing. And it's extremely easy, something you can do in probably less than 10 minutes. So that's kind of the setup for auditing. But what I want to do is I want to talk about the concept of auditing. What is important to get out of Active Directory, and how do you do that successfully? Let's first of all talk about user accounts. Now, when we're talking about user accounts, there are some certain things that every audit program goes over. There are certain things that every administrator should, I would guess, on a weekly or monthly basis, get a report on with regard to user configurations. And that is whether or not the password expires. Now, what I want to do is, as we go through some of these, I'm going to dig a little deeper than just running the report, because I think it's important to understand the details. So in this particular case, I'm going to jump into Active Directory users and computers, which I'm sure many of you are using as your management tool. Hopefully you use AD Manager, some of you. But I'm going to jump into Active Directory users and computers because I want to show you the environment where this setting is. So you see here, this is my account, Derek. And if I go into the properties of Derek, under the account, you'll see that password never expires. This setting right here is a very important setting because it basically says that the user can have a password that goes beyond the password maximum age. And sure, you could come into every user and see if it's checked, but what I want is I want a report of this. So when you start looking at the details of running reports, you know, Microsoft doesn't have any reports. You'll see here that there are no reports. So when you try to get some of this information, the important concept is, how do you dig the information out? Now, I'm going to show you many different ways to do many different things throughout today's webinar. Some of them are easy and some of them are a little more complicated, but I guess as an administrator myself, one of the things that I want is a single point of reference in order to be able to get everything that I need. That kind of makes sense, right? Why go to 10 tools and get 100 bits of information when I can go to one tool and get the same 100 bits of information? That's just more efficient, in my opinion. However, I'm going to give you solutions. That's part of my job as an MVP, is to give you concepts and solutions about what's good or bad. So if you come in here to saved queries, you can actually look at a non-expiring list of user accounts. This saved query is part of Active Directory users' computers. And if I go in and show you what the actual query looks like, it's in this case, it's just a checkbox, non-expiring passwords. So the great thing about this is it's part of what you already have. The bad part is, how do you get a report, right? And how do you automate this? Because this is not automatable. I don't have an option to automatically generate this report. And every time I come in here, I actually have to refresh this to see the list. So yes, I can do it using Active Directory users' computers. It's just not very efficient, let's say. But if I go in and use a tool like AD Manager Plus, which has powerful reporting capabilities, look at all the reports that I have here in all the different areas, I can quickly come in here and show you users with passwords that never expire. And this is a list that I can easily export into many different formats. You'll see PDF, I can do it HTML, whatever it is, and you can see that I can schedule reports. So what I want to do is I want to first of all get rid of, not rid, but I want to mention what I can mention about every report that I'm going to show you. Every report that I'm going to show you can be exported as a multitude of different file types, and I can schedule any of the reports that I'm going to show you. So if we kind of get those first two things with everything I'm going to show you inside of AD Manager Plus, that helps us streamline it so you don't have to hear me say over and over again, I can export and I can schedule it. So this is where you really get into the power of using a tool that's dedicated for reporting and helping you, whoever you are, the administrator, generate the reports, you, the auditor, getting the reports in the correct format, whatever it is. Also, I know that the concept of auditing comes with a little bit of apprehension and trust. Many times auditors don't trust the administrator to give them the correct information. So if the report is scheduled, it's something that actually can be emailed directly to the auditor, and the administrator never plays a part in it. So these are just all key components of how you can utilize a tool that's designed to do this. So that's one area that becomes very important. So another area is whether or not the password is expired. So, if I go back in here to my environment, if I go back to Active Directory users and computers, if I jump back into where you define these, you don't see users password expired. So how do you know the users that their passwords actually expired? Because that becomes a pretty important thing, because if I'm looking at an audit of my users in Active Directory, I want to know the users that maybe aren't active, because if the password has expired, obviously the human is not using that account anymore. So is this account sitting there waiting to be attacked? Can the account be deleted? Whatever that is. So if we go through some of the more common concepts around the area of passwords, password expired users becomes very important. Because look at my list here. I have 79 users that are in Active Directory, but their password is expired. So that means they can't log on, but they could possibly be attacked, or they could be utilized by someone that has access to Active Directory to maliciously get to that data. So these all become very important reports when you start looking at the breadth of Active Directory and how you're going to get the information. Again, I have seen on some audit programs, basically it's a list of users with the passwords expired, and it becomes a very difficult thing to get unless you have a tool that's designed to do that. Now let's move on and talk about a little bit different areas, or different than passwords, which is really related to the user objects themselves. So one of the things is the last word pass change date. Now, I know that many of you on this webinar are actually auditors. Some of you are administrators. And again, this is that area where auditors really don't trust administrators. But what I usually teach auditors is they have to look at a multitude of different attributes in order to see the full picture of things. So for example, let's say that a user has a password that's set to expire, but the last password change date was more than the password policy maximum password age. Let me say that again. Let's say that you get a report of users and you have a user that is set for the password to expire, but the last password change date is longer, is let's say a year, where inside of the password policy it says the maximum password age is 6 months. There's obviously a conflict there. So you need to get these types of reports as well. So if I go into Active Directory users and computers and I attempt to get a listing of the last password change date, good luck, right? So many of these attributes are actually inside of the attribute. So if I come here to users and I go to Derek and then I go to the attribute editor, this is where a lot of that information is stored. So the last password, let's see, password change, it's somewhere in here. I don't know how last password history or land manager password history, password change, there's so many in here, right? But who cares what's in here? You're not gonna go in here and try to get a list of all your users. Some of you have thousands of users, 10, 20,000 users. So how do we get this information? Because I think we all can agree that's an important piece. Well, again, that's where you need to get a tool that's designed to do that. So my last password change date, it's somewhere in here. Users, password, password change users. So I can generate this and I can get a, where's my report of that? My brain is malfunctioning. I thought it was here under users. Inactive, recently logged on. It's somewhere in here. My brain is not working and I don't see it in here, okay? But it's in here somewhere, okay? So that's a critical report that you need. Now, another very important report that you need are accounts that are disabled or locked out. So when you get into Active Directory users and computers, you can actually get this information using your saved queries. So as I said before, so I have disabled users and I have accounts locked out. I actually don't have a saved query, but you could probably generate that. But if you use a tool that's designed to do it, locked or disabled users right here, again, export, schedule, and then also I can get a list of users that are locked out. So this becomes a very important key component of getting this. Now, I do not expect anyone in this webinar to go through every audit and generate these reports. That's why the scheduled reports become so important. Heck, if you want to, generate them every week. That way the auditor can go back in time and look at the history of what's changed over time. This is really where we get into the power of using a tool that allows us to see in depth the information that's going on, okay? So we can also get accounts that are expired, accounts that never expire. So this is really important if you have maybe part-time employees, if you have summer help, holiday help, users that are coming in and you want their account to expire because they have a contract, or you just want to make sure that at a certain time they no longer can log on. So you can get that. Then you get the concept of inactive users. Now, what's an inactive user? Well, if we come back here to Active Directory users and computers, we have users, and if I go in and let's say that I create a new query and I define the query, for users, we can say, all right, days since last log on, and the account's disabled. But really, with inactive, we only have days since last log on. But days since last log on isn't that key, because we all know that our users don't always log off and log back on. So maybe their log on really wasn't for, 6 months or something, but they use the computer every day. So days since last log on may not be everything. We also need to combine it with things. So what we can do inside of different tools is we can actually start to develop reports that give us power over what we're going to include or exclude. So maybe since when is the time frame? What are we going to exclude users that are disabled, right? Also, I'm also going to get into this idea of custom reports, right? When you get into custom reports, you can create your own custom reports and put things together. But the concept is I need to get information out of the system that allows me to look at this. Now, another great thing about a tool that's designed to do this is, okay, not only that I can export and schedule tasks, but look at my columns here. You'll see that the columns here are a little bit different than what I've shown you before. And you can actually quickly add or remove columns. Look at this. So even though I'm looking at a report based on inactive users, I can get multiple bits of information in that one report quickly by using this. So does that mean that I could generate one report? Of course you could, but it becomes very big and cumbersome. So what my recommendation is, and I've audited many Active Directory environments, is that you create a report that has everything, and then you also create reports that are dedicated to a certain topic. Because you have a system that can do that in AD Manager Plus, and it's automated, it's just easy to do. So that's the angle that I would take, is I would get a report that includes everything, all the columns, and then you have reports that also are very dedicated to what you need. Now, the last one here, never logged on. Believe it or not, I have never seen an audit program that has a request for a list of users that have never logged on. But I am hoping that every single one of you that's on this webinar are going to add this to your audit program. Every administrator is going to look at this on a monthly basis. Here's why. It's Friday afternoon, and the administrator gets an email from HR saying that the following 20 people are going to start to work on Monday. So the administrator goes into Active Directory users' computers, goes through the 20 users in the list, and per user goes in and sets up their new user account, right? So, so we set up Johnny 2, and then we have to give a password for Johnny 2 and the other 19 users. Now, when we are setting up user accounts, especially on Friday afternoon for users to start Monday, we really don't want to dilly-dally and take a lot of time. We just want to get the job done. So we're typically going to use the same password for all 20 accounts, correct? Absolutely correct. Wonderful. So you, the administrator, you go through your email, you go through the 20 users, you create the 20 users, boom, you're gone for the weekend. Monday morning, do you go back to HR and ask them if all 20 of those users started? No, you do not. So that means that you could have users here in Active Directory that have never logged on. If those users have never logged on and you've been using the same password to create users for the last 5 years, most likely how many users in your environment could log on as those users that have never logged on? They all know the password, right? Bingo. This becomes a huge issue. So what we need is a tool that can easily automate the generation of a report of users that have never logged on. Done. That's how easy this is. Okay? That's how easy this is. So when you start looking at the details of auditing, I'm going to encourage all of you to push the envelope to secure your environment. Auditing is all about security, but I don't think as an industry we're doing a good enough job. And I say it's broad. It's from the administrators to the auditors and everyone in between. We have to take responsibility and we have to get tools in place. We have to look at the correct information to make sure we know what's going on in Active Directory. These are some of the tips that you can utilize to do that. Okay, so you'll see here, these users have never logged on. It's a simple check inside of AD Manager Plus. It's a report that's right here. Now, earlier in my list, I said last password change date. Well, I hope you all noticed that actually when I went through and I got a list of users that were inactive, my last password change date can also be here. Last timestamp, last logon, day since last logon, and this is the information where you have here that you can pull over and add those to your columns. Okay? So these are critical reports that you need on users. What I find is many organizations utilize CSVDE or LDIFTI, and they're just trying to organize this massive report of information when these reports are dedicated and you actually get the information you need instead of having the monster thing that you have to massage. Okay? Now, what about difficult user-related areas such as, let's say, the last logon time? Now, the last logon time has been a bone of contention for many, many years, and there's a good reason for that. Back in Windows 2000, 2003, there was a certain attribute related to last logon time, but that wasn't replicated. Microsoft in the 2008 timeframe actually created a secondary attribute for a user that was related to the last logon time, and it's replicated. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to clarify this for you 100% on what you need to do to look at the last logon time during an audit. The attributes that I'm talking about are called last logon and last logon timestamp. Okay? The information I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a reference, is pulled directly from Microsoft websites. First of all, the last logon. This attribute is not replicated between domain controllers. Therefore, can you get from Active Directory one domain controller a list of last logons? The answer is no. Okay? You have information there and you have a reference here. This is important information. Now, the second attribute that we have is last logon timestamp. This is replicated, see right here, to all the DCs. It is important to note, this is directly from Microsoft, that the intended purpose of the last logon is to identify inactive computers and users. This timestamp is not updated with all logon types or at every logon. Well, my goodness, what is it used for then, right? Confusing, isn't it? The only way that you can view the true last logon time is a tool that is designed to go to every domain controller, compare the last logon, and give you the latest one. It's the only way it works. It's the only way that it works. So you must have a tool that can do this from every domain controller. This can take some time. All of you know this. If you've used a tool that can do this, this takes time. So maybe, just maybe, if you're doing particular audits on particular users, maybe it's a HIPAA audit, maybe it's a SOX audit, and you don't look at every user, you need to look at certain aspects, you can actually use group-based users or OU-based users to get the information that you need. If you use this tool right here from Microsoft, you cannot get the information. You cannot. You cannot. Can you create a script to do it? Of course. What do you think's behind this? Everything's a script behind this. But what I'm suggesting is that if you get a tool that has a report for real last logon, you can come in here and you can set up filters on changing who you're going to get it from, and you will have the last logon time here because it goes to all your domain controllers. Done. Oh, and by the way, export it or schedule it. It's just there for you. If you want to add additional columns, it's all right here. This is how you do this. This is the powerful way that you can do this, right? Password last set. So when you get into these particular reports, these are the reports that you can customize and you can get the information that you need. Extremely important to have a tool that you can customize to get the information that you need out of the system. Okay? Now, you also need to be able to go in and look at certain attributes, difficult to get information. We have built a custom report tool. The custom report tool has basic attributes that you can create custom reports from. Plus, if you already have an LDAP query, you can use that, and then you can automate it. So inside of our reporting, you have custom reports. You'll see that I have created some custom reports here throughout. The new custom report builder allows you to go in and you get to specify exactly what you're going to add in. So I get to go in and say, okay, first name, last name, log on, when it was changed, when it was created, information about groups. If I want to get information about a particular area, account information, very powerful. And of course, you can put multiple of these together to create a custom report. Now, the other thing that's important here is not only what you're going to search on, but what you are going to show. So now you get to show certain attributes, including custom attributes. I know of no other tool in existence that does this. This was asked by me around the world multiple times over the last 5 years. I went to the team and said, hey, this is really getting to be a point where we're hitting threshold. Boom, we got it created. We're constantly adding stuff to this report. Very, very powerful, right? So this is, I mean, here's one, non-IT admins in the administrators with non-expiring passwords. You get to customize your own reports. I guarantee you every auditor that's on this particular call, this webinar, is just giddy over this. This is part of AD Manager Plus now. It is built in as a solution. Okay? Now, let's move on and talk about groups. We've talked about users. Again, if I miss something for a user, go back to the security hardening site. I'm sure that it's detailed there on how you can get that report. But how do you get group members recursively? Now, if you go in and you look at the Microsoft way, you're going to be limited. So let's just pick on one particular group. So I'm going to come in here to Active Directory Users Computers. I'm going to go to Built-in, and I'm going to go to Administrators. Okay? Everyone has the Administrators group. Inside of every Administrators group as members, you have nested groups. So this is a perfect example because everyone has this problem. How do you get a list of all users in the administrators group, even if they're in a nested group? So this is not an option. There's no option here. You cannot do it. Okay? So as an option, it's an impossible answer to use Active Directory User Computers. Secondly, you could use PowerShell. I've already given you a screen capture here of this, right? Get AD group member, administrators, recursive. Boom, here's the answer. How many of you that are administrators feel that your auditors could handle this output in this format? Okay, the answer is none. How many of you auditors want the information in this format? Okay, the answer is none, which means every time that you generate one of these, you have to massage the data to get it in the right format. Why not just use a tool that's designed to do it? Quick, 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 boom, schedule it, done. AD Manager Plus is designed to actually generate these reports. Group report, group members. I want to get details. I want to know nested groups, the users. I don't want the computers. I don't want the contacts. Generate. Boom, there it is, users, and then I have tabs to tell you which groups are in there if I want that. But right here is my list. I can schedule it, I can export it. I'm done. See the power? You have to have the right tools. I once audited fully an organization in New Jersey. Over 1,000 servers. over 40 domain controllers, and we did a full audit on every machine. These were some of the concepts that we used to do that, not only with users and groups, but across the board with all the security settings and a full in-depth Active Directory IT security audit. This makes your job so much easier. When I say I'm not talking about the auditors. I'm not talking about the administrators. I'm talking about everyone. Everyone benefits from having these solutions in place. Okay? Now, I just had a question come across that I didn't see answered, so I'm going to try to answer it for you. Is what's the difference between AD Audit Plus and AD Manager Plus? Because they both have reports, right? Here's AD Manager Plus reports. Here's AD Audit Plus. If I get in there, of course, there's reports in here too. What is the difference between AD Manager Plus and AD Audit Plus? Think about it in the timeline. Everything that AD Manager Plus pulls is right now. Whatever is there right now in Active Directory, okay? If you haven't logged in a long time, all of these are attributes for user accounts. Attributes for user accounts, attributes for group accounts. This has nothing to do with what's happened a minute ago. If you want to know what happened a minute ago, AD Audit Plus. AD Audit Plus allows me to say, hey, I want to know all of the Active Directory changes that have occurred in the last 24 hours. I can't get that from the current Active Directory because the change has already been made. AD Audit Plus is the history. AD Manager Plus is the current, okay? All right, we'll get back to that in just a minute, but I at least wanted to answer that as it came through because I didn't see that was answered. So now let's move on. We've talked about users. We've talked about groups. Now let's talk about the password policy. Yeah, I know. The password policy. Believe it or not, it's the year 2018, and I'm going to be going to 2 cities in Poland, 4 cities in the U.S., and there are going to be users, administrators in every one of those cities that do not know how to audit the password policy. This is the unvalidated way to do this. Now, I want all of you to take a clear look at what I'm showing you. I am looking at the default domain policy in the group policy management editor, the password policy, and I have a screen capture of this. This is not validated. There is no validity to this information. And the way that I normally say it is this is worthless information. Let me prove it. I'm going to come back to my Active Directory environment. I'm going to go to the default domain policy. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I just showed you right here live, okay? Account policy, password policy. There it is. Now, this is not validated. I'm going to validate for you what the current password policy is. On the lower right-hand corner, this is the actual password policy for the domain. In the upper left-hand corner is what most administrators use and what most auditors ask for. Is there a difference? Yes. You cannot use group policy to audit Active Directory. You cannot use group policy to audit. You cannot use group policy to audit. It's too complex. There's too many things that can be going on. You'll notice that right here, I have at the top level something called mystery. If I go into the mystery GPO, you will see that I have password policy settings. They look familiar, right? Yeah, because it's what's controlling the environment. If I come to the domain node and I look at the inheritance, mystery is at the top above default domain policy, so it overrides it. You cannot rely on group policy to audit the password policy. If you're doing that, I want you to stop. Go and update the audit program. You can use a built-in tool called Net Accounts. It gives me most of the information, but it's missing complexity. Just like I started this webinar, if I can go to one tool and get you everything, why wouldn't I tell you that one tool compared to going to 3 or 4 different tools to get a multitude? I don't want you to do that. I want you to be able to automate the creation of all these reports on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and it's always correct every time, and you don't do any work. You just go look at the report. The way to do that, in this case, is you use SecPol, SCCPOL.MSC. Now, this is a easy way to do it, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a couple of guides here. First of all, I want you to do this in your environment, seccpol.msc. This, if you run it from one domain controller, will give you the password policy. But it's using a different tool, right? Can you use AD Manager Plus for this? Of course you can, right? I can come in here and I can look at my password policy. My password policy will tell me what the actual password policy is. I can schedule this, right? So I'm giving you the correct way to do it, the incorrect way to do it, and then I'm giving you a centralized way to do it. I prefer the centralized way because if I do it a centralized way, now I'm getting everything that I need. But some of you are using fine-grained password policies. I know you are. How do you get a report on that? Now that's a different one, huh? Again, the centralized solution right here. Fine-grained password policies can be on a report from AD Manager Plus. When you get to users, you just go and add remove PSO applied, password settings object. If there's a PSO that's applied from fine-grained, it'll tell you the name. If there isn't, it's using the default GPO-based password policy. It's that simple. Let me show you how to do that. For some of you that actually have AD Manager Plus, super simple. User reports, all users. Add remove columns, add PSO applied, done. That's it. 3 clicks and you're done. Are you guys grasping the power of the correct tool? Are you guys grasping how awesome this would be for you to schedule all of this to where it's just generating for you? That's the idea. I want to give you solutions that are super simple for you to use. Now, automation. They can all be automated. You just automate it. Every single one of these has this schedule report. I've already kind of given you the power of this, okay? Every single one of these can be scheduled. You pick your requirement and you automate the report. Done. Click. Okay? It's that simple. When you want to do customized reports, you can do that too. Let me give you an example of some of the customized reports that I've gone through. Admins that have not logged on over 180 days. Admins. I can use this based on group or OU. Now, for those of you that are dealing with the GDPR, which of course, as I travel the world, I have to deal with this a lot, GDPR group members that have not logged in over 180 days. Users that have access to personal data from the EU users that haven't logged in 180 days. Users created over 180 days ago but never logged on. This is that never logged on, but I'm giving it a caveat over 180 days. Because what if they were created 2 weeks ago and the users just didn't start yet? I don't want to wipe out those users. User in the finance group, but not in the finance department. So those of you that are actually using the different parts of the attributes of Active Directory, you can now merge them together. Extremely powerful stuff. You can use city, you can use manager, you can use groups, you can use department, all those things. Very powerful. Do you see the power of a tool? Getting the right information. So in this short presentation, hopefully I've given you kind of the guide on how to do this. Take what I've given you, implement it. Where I'm missing some information, and I know I can't go over everything in 45 minutes, you go back to the security hardening site. Let me show you how to get there again. You go to manageengine.com, hover over products, in the lower left-hand corner, security hardening. At the bottom of this page are the listings. Awesome, awesome power, okay? This becomes a great way for you to actually take advantage of this. Now, I know that everyone on this webinar understands what I've shown you, but the administrators feel like they missed out a little bit because administrators can't look at reports. It's too late. Administrators need to know when things change now. Now, I just gave you the insight on how to run a report on groups for administrators recursively. But what if that group changes membership? What if someone goes in right now and they change this group's membership? Done. Until I look at that report, I won't know that, correct? Until I look at the report that AD Manager Plus generates, I don't know that that group changed membership. But watch this. With AD Audit Plus, I already have an alert. Part of auditing is called real-time alerting. This real-time alert can be sent to anyone, SMS or email in the environment. I now have a complete view in every second of the day of what's going on in Active Directory. From an administrative standpoint, and sure, I can run a report on the changes that are occurring to modified admin groups. Of course, I can look at the last 24 hours. Right there's the change in real time. If I want to look over the last 6 months, boom, it's going to take a little bit, and there's my list. If I want to know how many times domain admins has changed, sorry, I mistyped that. If I want to know how many times in the last, not AD changes, sorry, I hit the back button, I shouldn't have. Modified admin groups, I want to know the last 6 months. I want to know domain, let me see if I can type this correctly this time. I know every time that domain admins has changed membership in the last 6 months. Powerful information. I think it's more powerful than the audit information that I just showed you in AD Manager Plus. Why? Because it's telling me the history of what's changed. I know over time what's changed. Both of these tools, AD Manager Plus and AD Audit Plus, are required, in my opinion, for today's audit. They're required for you to do this. When you go through the security hardening site, every security control area has information about how to use AD Manager Plus and AD Audit Plus for that. You got to use the two in conjunction. And administrators, every single one of you that do not have a tool right now for change monitoring and real-time alerting, I'm going to challenge you. Right now, here's the challenge. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. I want you to go to manageengine.com. Oh, before you do this, I want you to start a stopwatch. Go to manageengine.com, hover over products, go to AD Audit Plus. I want you to download it, install it, configure it, and get an alert. You can get alerts in less than 30 minutes. If you can't get an alert in less than 30 minutes from what I just showed you, I want you to email me, because we need to talk about why and what was the issue, because it should. 30 minutes. You can start getting alerts on changes in Active Directory in 30 minutes. Powerful, okay? So we've gone through a lot of information today. Let's do a recap. When it comes to auditing, there's two pieces that are important. We have compliance regulations and auditors that need reports. Administrators, schedule those reports and just let them have at it. You as administrators, you need real-time alerting on the changes that are occurring. AD Audit Plus does that for you, okay? I gave you resources from our website, our blog, security, the privileged user security dummies book, and I gave you the security hardening site. Also, this is my email. You have my email and you have the email of probably many people on the AD Solutions team. We love to receive emails, all of us, because we want to learn more about what your issues are, and we actually just want to learn more. And we get to your emails very quickly. Email us, please. If you are going to be in Philly, Boston, New York, New Jersey, or Orlando in early June, please come see me at one of those seminars. I will be at all 4 of those, okay? At the end of the year, in the second half, we'll be out to the West Coast. So please keep an eye out if you're on the West Coast for when we'll be around the West Coast. But at the end of May, we are having the user conference. It's up in Pleasanton in our corporate office. It's a beautiful place. Please come see us, okay? You guys have all the resources now. You guys have everything that you need. Please, I want you to take advantage of this. We will be doing some more webinars over the next couple of months. Keep an eye out for those. I'm going to let you get back to work. I want to thank all of you for your time. I want to thank all of my colleagues for their help in answering questions. And until the next time I see you or I'm talking to you, I want you to have the best of days. Have a great summer. And until I see you next, this is Derek Melber. Thank you very much.